So much of what I do in my regular day is helping companies grow, protect what they have, really understand their value propositions, and be able to profit from that in the future. We very recently formed a partnership with Accelerate IP, so we are now the delivery partner for the intellectual property program in this part of our region. Accelerate IP is new. This is within the last year. It's a 3-year federal initiative that's going on, and there is a ton of money that the Canadian government is putting out for businesses to try to make sure that you have the ability to protect the unique things about your business, your IP, and to cover a lot of the costs involved. Towards the end, I'm going to get into how you can actually tap into the money that's available for you. It comes with everything from education, which we're doing right now, but there's also money that's involved for legal work to help you along with it. I'm going to give a disclaimer. I am not a lawyer, and anything you're going to get from me today, don't take it as legal advice. We're going to try and cover a lot of information today, and it's a high level. I want to kind of give you a real good idea of all the parts of IP that relate to a business. We'll show you some ways that you can get more direct information and mentorship if you need to look a little bit closer on any of the topics. So we're going to cover today copyright, trademark, trade secrets, patents. Very importantly, why every one of us in business needs to care about intellectual property from a competitive advantage point of view, to also at the end where you may be looking at an acquisition or selling, and making sure that you have the ability to operate in the markets that you choose to. So again, we can help with mentorship costs that are being covered by the government to look specifically at your business, strategy costs when it comes to working with lawyers to figure out what you need precisely, and then implementation costs through legal firms to give you the support you need to get you ahead. So successful companies, we see them all around. Some of the things that they share and have in common is they really rely on strategy in every single thing that you do. It's not luck or waking up one day and saying, let's see how it goes. It's a well planned out process. Generally, a successful company is really going to understand why they're different. Why are you special? Why do people trade with you? So what is your differentiation? And specifically the type of differentiation that means something to your customer. They really understand who their customer is, what the problems are that they're solving, and they develop trust over time. So, these things don't happen overnight, and they don't happen just by luck or happenstance. It's generally a well thought out plan that occurs. Also, successful companies make a big point to make sure that they own that differentiating factor within them. They own their solution, and they have the right to trade in the markets that they want to trade. One of the reasons that the federal government came up with the money to do this all across Canada is apparently Canada is behind some of the other global countries, including the US, not in terms of creating great businesses, but in terms of protecting what you've created and being able to trade larger on a global basis. So when we talk about intellectual property, it's sort of a basket of a lot of things that come together, not one singular item. So there's things that are registerable rights, like patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs. There's also a lot of non-registrable rights, and we'll go into the details of these. Trade secrets, confidential information, a lot of data. And then there's other IP that doesn't really quite fit into those same categories. It's simple things like know-how. How do you do those unique things within your organization or business? Different formulas or formulations, data that you have and have collected, how you market, how you package your goods, how you package and bundle your services that make them unique and easy for your consumer to purchase and form a relationship with you. So when we think about the intellectual side of those two words, intellectual property, it's often really represents all that brain power and achievements that get done. So that's everything from writing software, writing books, plays, brands, logos, company names, recipes, processes, how you do the different things in your business. And then of course there's inventions and stuff that are very, very unique. But when you look at the list, every single business, every single person that's here has intellectual property. And really my goal today is hopefully getting you thinking a little bit more of it. You already own something right now, or you potentially can own something. And how do you go about protecting some of those things that are very important to you? So in the property side, some of the intellectual properties, they give an owner certain rights. So if you look at some companies, organizations, it gives them a right to sell a product or service. Very importantly, it gives you a right to prevent others from selling maybe what you have or copying what you have. And a big one, if you think about franchisees, people that do things under license, it gives you ability, or can give you ability, to license what you have to someone else to use for a period of time or to use in a particular way. So some of the benefits by understanding intellectual property and the strategy is, you can really drive the value of your business by protecting particular rights that you have and developing some of those rights. As a collective within an organization, IP is something that should be talked about on a regular basis. So it's something that should be involved with how you make your decisions within your organization. When you look at a lot of other factors, you should also be looking at how are we protecting this if it goes well? What are the things that we need to be doing? An IP strategy is not just relying on one single thing in the basket to cover everything that you need. So not just saying, I have an NDA, I'm protected now through my business with anyone that works for me. Or I've filed a patent and I've called it a day. And at times not paying attention to our competitors. That's a big thing about what we work on with our existing business clients, is making sure that they're really paying attention to what's happening in the marketplace. What are some of the changes, and what are some of the ways that competitors are protecting what they have and maybe keeping us out of the market. So the four main pillars that we're going to go over are going to be copyright, trademark, trade secrets, and patents. Copyright gives you the right to original work, gives you the right to reproduce the whole work or a substantial part of that work. So when we think of a lot of copyrights stuff, that could be, any written piece that you put together. We're showing a music sheet here. We hear about it a lot with musicians. They've put together something and they're very protective of what that beat is, what that rhythm is. Magazines, images, something that almost all of us have are websites, our design and look. If we become successful, we would not like to see websites that look like us. Now, when it comes to copyright ownership, general rule, the author or person who created the work is the first owner of a copyright. Now, people, if you have employees, there is an exception there. Let's look at freelancers and independent contractors, because nowadays, gig economy, almost everyone is using some source, some form of doing this. It is so common now, whether that's Upwork, whether that's bringing in an individual. I am not an employee of Kamloops Innovation. I'm a contractor, my business contracts to them. I created the slide deck. So technically, we'd say I would own the IP to this slide deck. But I signed an agreement with Kamloops Innovation that transfers any creations that I do on their behalf. I transfer the copyright directly to the organization. It's very important that there's no gray area for yourself, that if you're unsure whether or not you have rights to certain things, that you have a means or a way that you can go and try to find out how you can protect the things that are important to you. Trademarks is a huge one. Anyone recognize brands there? They indicate the origin of a goods or services, so they can be words, designs, shape or packaging. We wouldn't need to see the label. We would know that's a Coke can right away, or a Coke bottle, just because of a particular look. It can be combinations of colors. It can be the sound when we'd hear was it the Intel chip that had that little beep 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 noise or whatever to it? But we hear certain things, we see certain things in a particular way. So why are they important? Goodwill is often associated with with the trademark. So when we see certain things, we know we can trust them. We pull up, we see a sign for McDonald's, we know we can get very fast service and we can get it really quickly. Consumers will often make decisions simply on brands. Apple. Doesn't matter what they make now. You put an Apple logo on it, there's a part of trust that goes with that in embarking. So because people are making decisions based on trademark is incredibly important to make sure you have complete control over that others aren't going to look and say, well, you know what, that's a really successful company. I think my website's going to look a little bit like that. Registering trademarks is a great way to get rid of confusion and keep others in the marketplace from trying to leverage the goodwill that you put together. Trade secrets. Trade secrets is any information that would have a value that's not being disclosed. But you have to be taking steps to maintain secrecy and trying to keep it from being public knowledge. So some examples: special sauce for Big Mac. The Colonel's secret recipe or original recipe that they have, I think that's one of those timeless ones that still has not been disseminated and found out exactly what's inside it. The formula for Coke. So, you know, one of the advantages of trade secrets, I'm going to call it some poor man's IP, but it's not necessarily because you're poor. But I'll say that a little bit because we all have the ability to have trade secrets if we just don't share certain things that are very important and very valuable to us. You don't have to file for it, but think about all of our businesses. We have customers that seek us out for things that just make them feel either really special or delivers value that's really important to them. And if we have competitors, and if our competitors looked and said, hey, if we can do something similar, maybe we can capture some market. So it's in our best interest to keep those trade secrets secret. It does no good if only one or two people in your organization understand intellectual property for your organization and understand what is secret and what isn't. Think about it nowadays, so many employees, and it's not out of malice, we have smartphones, we're proud, we like to post things. Sometimes people post things that should be secret, but it starts with making sure that people on board that within your organization know what makes you unique and why you need to keep that under wraps and just for yourself. So let's look at some examples of trade secrets, because again, most of the stuff those of you in the room already have. Business plans, the strategy, you know, how are you going to go about growing your business? Financial projections, good or bad. Marketing plans. And marketing plans, when I say marketing plans, I'm also going to tie that into sales. We talk a lot with growth companies about the newest form of IP, and probably the most important for growth and scaling companies is the ability to acquire new customers in a cost-effective way. So a lot of businesses and organizations can develop really great products and services, but the ones that seem to excel are the ones that have figured out their trade secret for how do they do that. When I got into business, you had a Rolodex, and that was, you know, that sort of went with you from place to place. People within organizations would consider their value was the value of their Rolodex, who their contacts were. If we look now within organizations, there is not a company that joins our venture acceleration program without knowing that one of our requirements is that you have a CRM, that you manage the data, that customer contacts, the interactions that you have with your customers, they belong to the organization. So it's a small list. There's a lot more things that would fall under trade secrets, but what I'm trying to do is show you that we already have a lot of intellectual property and values in our organization. You know, anyone that's running a business needs to take time on a regular basis and look through and understand what are the areas that we're doing well in, what are the areas that we can improve upon. Patents, people with inventions. But if you have an invention, kind of that idea is, you know, what's next? And a patent really is a document that describes, you know, what is that invention, what are you trying to protect, what are you claiming? And included in that claim is sort of the scope around what that invention is or to what level you protect. When we think about why register a patent, I mean, it does give you the right to prevent others from making, using, or selling a claimed invention. I was in an industry, in the bedding industry, that for a lot of years when I got in, one manufacturer was allowed to have pocket coils, and they were able to advertise that being different, and they could advertise the heck out of it because no one else could manufacture that. They had a patent for it. As soon as the patent ran out, every single other manufacturer was making beds with pocket coils instantly. Just about overnight, they were ready to go on it. So it didn't grant them the rights forever to hold that, but it granted them a long period of time to become very dominant within that marketplace. So if you're looking at maybe what's the downside, like why shouldn't we patent everything? You know, the caveat is that you're also going to have to fully disclose what it is that you have, so it's not going to be secret anymore. So I guess, you know, the why part of anything, sort of know why you came, because you said curiosity to come, but so some of the reasons why we really need to care about this in a big way. Competitive advantage, and that's really the what's in it for me part for any business or any individuals. Really being able to own a space or own a particular part of something. You can use it as a tool at times if it's patent related to block others from getting in there. Royalty and licensing streams, that is a huge thing for people, being able to have something and then being able to license someone else to do it. Because sometimes there's more money or better money to be made by others that can distribute or use what you have, but you have the right to it. Investors often get to that part about who has rights or who owns what you have, making sure that there's not a bunch of gray areas, because the last thing they want to do is grow something really big and then have to give a bunch of it away because some of the rights didn't actually belong to you. When you're negotiating, you can do a lot of cross-license relationships with other organizations because there's benefits to be made by both of you that have particular rights. At some point we exit. 1975, not too long ago, 80% of the corporate value on the S&P 500 companies was intangible assets. When it came to intangible assets, 20% of market cap. Look how it's changed. Right now, they're saying 90% corporate valuations rely in intangible assets. So it's all of that stuff that we're protecting that can be some of our greatest value to us later. Freedom to operate. You can, with freedom to operate, a lot of times when you're tying your IP strategy, you're really trying to make sure that if we're successful, are we going to have limitations? So maybe you started out in Kamloops and you've done really well, and you're thinking, okay, well, great, I'm going to branch out and I'm going to move further. But what if you haven't even looked to see if your trading name can be used in another marketplace, or if there's conflict in other places? You might be ready to go, but you might not have looked ahead at some of those things. Now we're going to come to the part of how can we help? So if now you're curious and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I might need to look at my business, or I might need to think about things growth-wise down the way. With the federal program they have, and you can go onto the website, we're going to send you links for this, and you're going to get the slide deck at the end. There is up to 8 hours of no-cost mentorship to help explore in your particular case what are the important things that you may want to be looking at IP-wise, strategy-wise. But then, if it turns out that you look and you say, you know, there's a few things that we should probably get a little bit of legal help on. They have Stream 2-2 IP strategy. This is where up to $25,000 of legal support is available. And then, as a big one, if it turns out maybe you have something that you want to patent, you want to trademark, and there's more dollars or cost involved, there's money available. Up to $60,000 is available federally for you on that same basis, 25%. So if you ever had legal stuff related to intellectual property that you think you may need to do at some point, it is so much worth exploring because costs only go up, not down. This allows it to be reasonable for most organizations. Go to the portal, you're welcome to get in. There will be links that Michael will send within that. There we go. Thank you for joining us. And are we close on time?